Hello lovers of philosophy, Ollie here. Philosophy exams can be scary and tough, and I see a lot of people complaining and say they don't like them, and that makes me sad, so I wanted to help. I don't mean to blow my own trumpet, but I am a man who has passed a fair share of philosophy exams in his time. Maybe you're about to start studying philosophy and you want to get off on the right foot, or maybe you've been studying it for a while now and you keep getting B after B after B, and you want to just give it that push. So I thought I'd share with you my top 6 tips for passing philosophy exams. Number 1. Okay, so more than a lot of other exams, philosophy exam questions can be crazy, and that can really put you off. You might open the exam paper and the question will be like, are humans just biological computers? And you'll think, oh my god, there's no way I can answer that, that's impossible! But don't panic. One of the things that used to get me through philosophy exams is to understand the question as trying to prompt you to talk about a certain topic. It's saying, tell me what you know about this, but it might be framing it in a fun way. So when it says, are humans just biological computers, it might really be saying, tell me what you know about the problem of consciousness, or explain John Searle's Chinese room argument. Think back to what you've been learning and think to yourself, what is this question trying to test me on? Once you take that step back and try and guess what the question's trying to get at, then you might find it seems a little clearer. Number 2, do the reading. Seriously, every philosophy course has at least some required reading. Do it. All of it. No spark notes, no summaries. Do the reading. But Ollie, there's so much reading, I don't want to do all of it. Do the reading. If you're just casually interested in a topic, then it's okay to read a summary or watch an online philosophy video, but if you're actually going to be tested on something, then there's no better way to get to grips with it than to actually read what the philosopher wrote. Read all of it. If you get your reading list in advance, then it's usually a good idea to do the reading before you go to class. That way, when the lecturer goes through the material, if they just go through everything you've already got down written on your notes, well then, hey, great, you understand it. And if they say a bunch of stuff that you missed, well then, awesome, they just saved you one. Also, if you do the reading in advance, if there's something you don't understand, then when the lecturer goes through it, it might click, and you might be sitting there in class going, oh, that's what that bit was talking about. Okay, yeah, I'm with it now, yeah. While everyone else is going, ooh. Number 3. Be creative. This is especially useful if you're studying philosophy in high school. Often in an exam or an essay you'll be asked to give an example or come up with a thought experiment. Don't just use the one in the book or change a few key words. Come up with your own ideas. That makes your essays much more fun to read, which is really important because especially in high school, exam markers have to go through hundreds and hundreds of papers, and it's really useful if you can make yours stand out. Also, if you're coming up with your own examples, then it shows that you really understand the material enough to improvise around it, and it makes your essays more fun to write. Number 4. Make sure you know the technical language. Words like valid, sound, logical, therefore. You're going to need to know what these mean, but they are technical terms, so make sure you use them correctly. If you say therefore when what comes after therefore doesn't actually follow from what came previously and try and smuggle in some point you haven't really argued for, it's gonna show. The most common mistake comes with the phrase begs the question. Begs the question does not mean the same thing as raises the question. An argument begs the question if it assumes in its premises what it is trying to prove. Don't say begs the question when you mean to say raises the question. You will look like a dork.
Number 5.
Do the work in advance. This one's really most useful for studying philosophy at university or college. Most colleges will have a week before class actually starts called Orientation Week or Freshers Week, which is a chance to meet people, register for classes, and get wasted. Find out what work and reading you're going to have to be doing in week 1 of classes and do that work in Freshers Week. And in week 1, do the work for week 2. And then in week 2, do the work for week 3. And in that way, you will stay a week ahead of everybody else. I know it takes a couple of hours out of your drinking time or your frat hazing or whatever it is that you freshers are doing these days, but if you just take a couple of hours and invest them, you will get a massive return on that. People might call you a nerd for doing some of your work in advance, but when they are pulling all-nighters and can't find the books you need in the library and you are streets ahead, you, my friend, will be laughing all the way to the bank. Number 6. Don't worry about being original. Obviously, don't steal stuff from other people and pass it off as your own, but you don't have to go into every philosophy exam or course thinking that you've got to come up with some new theory that's going to blow the last 2,000 years of philosophy out of the water. If you understand the core arguments and principles and you can show them, then that's all your teachers will expect. Don't worry about other stuff. Leave the original theses to the PhD students.
You will come up with some original material as you go through, though. You'll be sitting in class and your teacher will go, this, and this. And then you'll go, well, what about this? And they'll either go, that's actually one of the criticisms that this other philosopher raised. Or they'll be like, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe you should develop that criticism. Good job. You don't need to go into philosophy expecting to be the next Aristotle. Just make sure you understand the core stuff and the rest will come naturally, I promise.
And those are my top 6 tips for passing philosophy exams. Leave your questions, comments, queries and comebacks underneath the video or on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe for more philosophical shenanigans. And if you really want to do something to help the channel, then the number one thing you can do is find one friend and recommend them to us. Send them our way, we'll be very happy to have them in the community. Thanks very much for watching, and with all your future philosophy studies, good luck!